Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about how to remove items from an image, whether it's in the background, something in the image, doesn't matter. We're going to be learning that today. So first, open up your picture with Photoshop. The picture that I used the picture that I downloaded is one from Pexels, so check out the link in the description. Check out that photographer and maybe his page on Pexels. And what I plan to do in this picture is to remove this flagpole along with these two basketball hoops, and then after I'm going to clean up the sand, kind of take off all these piles and all that litter and debris. But first, before we do that, we got to unlock the layer. So you're going to see here the lock on that layer. You're just going to click it once and it's going to unlock it. Then you're going to duplicate the layer with Control J on the keyboard, or you can right click and duplicate the layer. So we're just going to go here and hide that first layer, and I'm going to rename it Edited Layer and Original. Now the reason I like to duplicate it is just to have a backup layer. I'll do all the edits on one, but I like to have a backup layer just in case, just to see the progress and just to have something just in case. And the first tool we're gonna use is the patch tool. So I'm gonna show you guys how to use the patch tool and the clone stamp tool. But let's start off with the flagpole and use the patch tool. So I'm just gonna select it and I'm gonna draw around the object that I want to get rid of. So let's start up here, and I'm gonna start really close to the object. Don't go like too far out, or don't get too close either. You're gonna want to keep a good distance. But it's most important not to make it too big of a selection, especially with this tool. This tool will kind of distort the image a little if you make too big of a selection and you're patching it. So once you're finished selecting around the object you want to get rid of, you're going to hover over the selection, click, and then drag to whatever you want to replace. So let's say we put it here. Let's say we want to replace it with this. It's going to do that, and it's going to pretty much brush it over that existing selection. But instead, I'm just going to move it a little bit to the right. I'm going to try to align the water and the waves and the sand, and I'm going to let go. Perfect. That actually looks pretty perfect. Now I'm going to use the clone stamp tool to kind of clean this up. So with the clone stamp tool, what that does is you click a reference point, and then it'll brush whatever that reference point is, and it'll follow it along. So let's say we reference here and we start painting, it's going to copy whatever is next to it and in that same movement. But for right now, all I really want to do is just fix that little horizon right there, because the rest pretty much came out really good. Alright, now I'm going to use the clone stamp tool to get rid of these basketball hoops. So let's start off with this one. I'm going to make a selection, and I'm going to cut it off right here, and then I'm going to Photoshop this later. So I'm just going to make that selection, and then now that I have that selection, I'm going to use the clone stamp tool just to make sure I don't mess up the pull here. You see, if I would use the patch tool, let's say I put it up in the sky, you're going to get this blur over here because it's still getting the image on the other side of the selection. That's why I like to use the clone stamp tool in these cases when you have a strict border on the image. Now I'm going to just sample the sky right about here, and what I like to do is that I'll get a good enough brush size, pick a reference, and then I'll move straight horizontally and then color up and down, just to make sure I keep the same tone in the sky and that the gradient is fading in the same way, and it's all aligned. So I'm just gonna keep doing that until I get to the edge of the pull. Control D to deselect, and that actually looks really good right there. I kind of see a little line here because of selection. Remember, whenever you use the clone stamp tool and you're using a selection, just stay a little extra vigilant, take a little extra time to kind of smooth over everything, because those selections will leave a rough line and sometimes you won't notice until it's too late. Alright, that looks good. Now what I'm gonna do is fix up this pole here because I don't like that dark spot. I'm gonna use the rectangle selection tool and align it right there. And I wanna make that white. I want it to match this top part. So I'm just going to click right there, reference that, and go straight down. Perfect. Just like that. Let's see. There you go. Alright. Now you'll see here that, just like I said before, that hard selection. So I'm just gonna kind of loosen that up a little bit, blur that, and then for here, for the side of the pole, I'm gonna use the clone stamp on the sky. And since the hardness of the brush is all the way to 0, that's why you get that extra, you see that kind of very soft brush instead of something like this. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to have the hardness all the way to 0, which is the default for the clone stamp tool. Get it on the sky right around here. And if you hold shift, you can go straight up. And I'm going to go right there. Oh, maybe a little bit farther. There you go. Just to blend that in a little bit, just to make it realistic. Perfect. Now I'm going to cut this one off, and I think I'm gonna do it like this. So I'm gonna do the same thing as I did before. I'm gonna do my selection, perfect, and I'm going to do the same thing as before with the clone stamp tool. Now that I have such a large area here, it's going to be even easier to just do that same method as before of clicking and going straight up and down. So let's start right, let's make it a big brush and start right around here. And just get rid of that. Perfect. You see? Easy as cake. So we're just gonna take another quick look around, make sure none of the edges are too sharp. You know, you just be vigilant of that, keep an eye out. Perfect. So we're pretty much done. We have the whole image. We took off the 2 poles and the flagpole. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up the sand really quick. So let's just recap the patch tool and the clone stamp tool. So the patch tool, you click it. You can use any selection tool you want, or you can use just the actual tool to select something. But what you're going to do is select the object that you want to remove from the image. So let's say I want to remove this green cup on the floor. I'm going to select that because that's what I want to remove. And then I'm going to drag it to an area of pretty much what I want to replace in its place. And then I'm just going to drag, let go of the mouse, Control D to deselect, and that's it. With the clone tool, you're using a reference point. So you're gonna basically press Alt or hold down Alt to pick the reference point. So let's say right here, we're gonna pick this reference point, and then when you brush or draw, it's gonna use or copy with the brush that same reference point that you picked before. Now I'm just gonna clean up this entire beach. I'm gonna pick up all the piles and stuff, and then we'll regroup at the end to see the finished product. And there you go. 2 basketball hoops, a flagpole, and all the trash on the beach gone. Look at that. With just the patch tool and the clone stamp tool. It's the before and after right there. So thanks guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'll check you on the next video.